Today's player career video is brought to you in association with Passion for FM, the website for you to go to for all your Football Manager 2024 needs. At the start of Football Manager 2024, you will find 16-year-old Jonah Kusi-Asare in AIK's under-19 squad. He is contracted to AIK until 2025 and he's valued at £550,000 to £1.7 million. He's a player that likes to play off of either wing but can also operate centrally as a striker. Looking at his attributes, we see he relies heavily on his physicals at the start of the game. He has standout attributes which include stamina, pace, acceleration, balance and jumping reach. In his mentals, he has good bravery, determination and off the ball. And in the technicals, he has good finishing, heading and first touch. He's a player that stands at 6'5", so will be a menace to defenders at set pieces, and weighs 13 stone, so his strength of 13 should hold him well when coming up against stronger defenders. He's a player I think that has massive potential, so let's check on him in 5 years' time and see how he's getting on. It's now 2028 and we find a 20-year-old Jonah Kusi-Asare on loan at Antwerp from Paris Saint-Germain. He's valued at £14.5 to £43 million. If we look at his development in the first 5 years of the game, we can see it's mainly the physical side of his game that will develop first, with strength, balance, jumping reach, acceleration, pace and natural fitness all standing out. In the mentals, he has anticipation, bravery, composure, determination and off the ball. And whilst there is work to do in the technicals, he has started to develop his finishing, his first touch, his heading and his technique. If we look at his playing career across the first 5 years to see how much game time he got, we left him at AIK. He then moved to PSG for £850,000, couldn't crack the first team initially, played 14 times, scoring 5 goals in the 23-24 season for PSG too. And then it was a combination of the first team and the second team going forwards, where in the 24-25 season he would play 18 times for the second team, scoring 9 goals, finally making his breakthrough into the PSG team in the 24-25 season, playing 1 game. He would then go on and play 4 games before going back to PSG 2, where he played 34 and score 17, 17 and score 11, before a loan move to Karabag, where he gets 11 goals from 22 appearances, back to PSG 2 for 17 games and 10 goals, and then at Antwerp on loan, he played 20 times and scored 11 goals. So overall, 74 goals in 149 games at this point of his career. So he's definitely a player that has started to develop. I think there is a lot more to come from this player. He could go on to be an absolute hidden gem. So let's jump forward 5 more years and see how he progresses in 2033. It's 2033 and we find a 25-year-old Jonah Kusi-Asare at Borussia Dortmund. He's valued at 21 to £62 million. If we look at his development as a footballer, we can see that he's really started to come on now. Looking at the physical side of his game, everything is really impressive there, but he has balance of 17, jumping reach of 19, stamina 15, strength of 15, acceleration and pace of 14, so a lethal player in the final third of the pitch. Looking at the mentals, he has 14 for anticipation, bravery, composure and decisions. He has 15 for his determination and 14 for off the ball. In terms of the technicals now, dribbling is 11, finishing of 14, first touch of 13, heading of 14, penalty taking of 12 and his technique is 12, so really started to develop as a footballer. Looking at his career stats to find his playing time, we last left him at Antwerp and since then he's been on loan at Middlesbrough, where he played 44 times in the Championship and scored 21 goals. He then went back to PSG, played twice for the second team before getting the bump up to the first team, where he played 10 times, scored 3 goals. He then got a move to Borussia Dortmund for £18.5 million and has done really well in the Bundesliga, playing in 17 games, scoring 5 goals in 30-31. 31-32, he has played in 32 games and scored 6 goals. In the 32-33 season, he played 28 times and scored 4 goals. So he's a player that really has come on leaps and bounds, and when you compare him to the start of the game, he's now in a prime position in Dortmund to really kick on as a footballer. But how will he get on as we go into 2038? Will he stay at Dortmund and continue to score goals in the Bundesliga, or is he off to another league? So it's now 2038 and we find a 30-year-old Jonah Kusi-Asare still at Borussia Dortmund. He's now valued at 20 to 60 million pounds. We look at his player development, we can see in terms of the physicals, he's pretty much still the player that he was in 2033. In terms of the mentals, that is pretty much the same thing too. If we look at technicals though, his finishing is now up to 16, his first touch is 14, heading of 13, penalty taking of 13 and technique of 12. When we left him, he had been at Dortmund for a few seasons. Let's see how he developed whilst at the club. So the 34-35 season, played 30 times, scored 8 goals. 35-36, 32 times and 10 goals. He then had his best season at Dortmund in 36-37, played 34 times, scored 21 goals. He also chipped in with 3 assists. And in the 37-38 season, he played 31 times and scored 18 goals. So he has developed leaps and bounds and he's really come on as a footballer. At the age of 30 now, we're going to take one more jump and see if there's anything more to squeeze out of his career. Will he still be at Dortmund when we come back in 5 years' time? So I've now jumped forwards, it's 2043 and we find a 35-year-old Jonah Kusi-Asare. He is at Fenerbahce on loan from Everton, valued at only £16,000 to £45,000. He will be retiring at the end of the current season. If we have a look at his playing stats at the age of 35, he still retains a lot of his ability, but you can see the physicals have started to dwindle, but he still scores highly for balance, jumping reach and natural fitness. In terms of the mentals now, they have also started to decline, but he still holds good determination, composure, bravery and anticipation, and his finishing will stay 16 till the end of his career, as will first touch, heading, penalty taking and technique stay at 13. If we look at his history now to see how he has got on since he left Dortmund. So he left Dortmund on a free at the end of the 38-39 season. He went to Aston Villa for 2 seasons where he would play regularly for them. In the first season in the Premier League, he played 32 times, scoring 10 goals. He then played 27 times, scoring 3 goals in the 40-41 season. He then moved on another free transfer to Everton in 41-42 where he played 19 times and scored 4 goals. They then got relegated. He played in the Championship 3 times before he was loaned out to Turkey, where he played for Fenerbahce 19 times, scoring 9 goals and 2 assists. If we look at his overall career, we can see he's played 568 games in his career, scoring 218 goals with 24 assists and scores an average rating of 6.94, which is basically a 7 average rating, which is very impressive. Now, if we go through some of the milestones, there are going to be quite a lot of these here, I'm sure. In terms of the competitions, these are some of the things that happened during his career. So unfortunately relegated with Everton, Europa League winners with Aston Villa, Carabao Cup runners-up, DFL Super Cup winners with Dortmund, DFB Pokal winners, Super Cup winners. They were Pokal winners in 37. They were runners-up. In terms of the PSG phase of his career, Ligue 1 champion, Champions League winner, Coupe de France winner. He had his first international goal against Belgium, aged 21. First international cap was against Norway, aged 20. He was a Liga 1 Uber Eats champion in 26, and then for Sweden under 20s he was 3rd placed in the World Cup, Liga 1 Uber Eats champion in 2025, first under 21 international cap against Switzerland aged 16. If we look at the awards that he achieved, there are going to be a lot of these, so bear with me. Seasonal best 11s for Aston Villa, for Sweden, Swedish Forward of the Year in 2039. He was also Swedish Forward of the Year in 2038, Swedish Player of the Year in 2038, Bundesliga Players Team of the Year and Team of the Year in 2038. He was the Bundesliga top goal scorer in 37-38. He was Swedish Forward of the Year in 37 and Player of the Year in 37. He was the Bundesliga top goal scorer runner-up. He was Swedish Forward of the Year in 36. He was only in the Borussia Dortmund seasonal 11 in 35. He was Swedish Forward of the Year in 2034. In 2033, he was Champions League Forward of the Season 3rd place and Golden Boot 3rd place. Going a bit further back, for PSG, he was named in their seasonal best 11 and Sweden's seasonal best 11. And at Middlesbrough, he was in the Championship Players Select Championship top goal scorer, inducted into Middlesbrough's overall best 11 and seasonal 11, and was named in the Sweden seasonal best 11. So he certainly made a name for himself across his career, both at club and at country. If we look in the top left, he played 124 games for Sweden and scored 58 goals. So he's definitely a player that you will want to be signing early on in your game. Now, obviously, we saw quite a big jump between 33 and 38. So maybe he's a little bit of a late bloomer, but obviously starts the game at 16. So maybe he needs that first team football early on in his career to really get the best out of him. But I think he's an absolute fantastic player, an absolute bargain, and one of those that you probably never heard of. But by the end of this video, you will want to go out and sign him, because he's guaranteed to score your goals from set pieces and be a menace to defenders. Right then, if you've enjoyed this video, firstly, a big thank you. Secondly, if you could hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any other content. Also, to support the channel, the support I've received has been absolutely fantastic. Cannot thank you all enough. Before you go, don't forget there are other videos on the channel such as these types of videos. There are Wonder Kids, Let's Plays, hints, tips, tutorials, something for absolutely everybody on the channel. But for this one, I'm going to leave it there. Big thank you for watching. I'll see you on another video very soon.